After securing millions in 0% credit for myself and for my clients, I've come across three main banks that will approve an LLC for $50,000 without any proof of income. So in this video, I want to break down the top three banks and also the cards I would apply for at those banks to get to that $50,000 plus mark as fast as humanly possible. Let's jump in. Now that we're over here on my computer, there's something I want to go over really fast because it is incredibly important. After submitting hundreds of applications and securing millions in 0% credit for myself and also for clients, there are three things that I discovered that if you get these right, you will be able to get 100K in 0% credit with ease. So I want to take the next 2 minutes to break these down for you. So when you go to apply for the banks mentioned in this video, you can guarantee you will get the approval. Number one is credit score. Number two is company name. And number three is revenue on applications. So credit score. When it comes to getting approved for 100K plus and 0% credit, there is nothing more important than your credit profile and your score, period. I personally never submit a credit application unless a credit profile looks like this at the very least. I want to see a FICO score of 700 plus, credit utilization at 30% or below, no late payments within the past 2 years, zero bankruptcies, collections, or negative items, and at the very least 3 personal credit cards, with one of them having a credit limit of 10K plus and above. If a credit profile has these 5 things in place, the person applying is in a great spot to get approved for 100K very, very easily. I've seen this time and time again. If a credit profile does not look like this, I highly, highly recommend the business owner fixes this prior to applying, as it genuinely could result in 10 times less approved credit. Now, to stress this point further, I do want to tell you a quick story, and I promise I'll make it fast. Not too long ago, I had 2 online business owners approach me wanting to see if I could get them 100K in credit for their companies. Company A was doing 2.2 million a year, and company B hadn't even made $1 single yet. The difference between the two was company B had a perfectly positioned credit profile and an 800 credit score, like literally perfect. Company A, on the other hand, had around a 600 credit score, but had late payments, utilization above 30%, and they only had 1 personal credit card, and the limit was like $300. Well, due to company A's credit profile needing work, I advise that they position their credit profile correctly before applying for any 0% credit. So essentially, what I recommended was that they position their credit profile like this at the very, very least. They instead went straight to applying for credit because they felt their 2.2 million in revenue would get them the approval regardless of what their credit profile looked like. The result? Even though company B had not made their first dollar, literally not $1 single, we went on to get them 167.2K and 0% credit within the next 27 days. And just so you know, I'm not full of it, here are actually 2 approvals from that. We ended up getting somewhere around 7 approvals, but this is just 2. This is the main one, a 75K approval on 1 single card. And then here's another 20K approval that I put in there as well. We actually ended up getting this particular client over 300,000 in 0% credit, but within the first 27 days, it was 167.2. Now, company A, the company doing 2.2 million a year, wasn't able to get even 10K and got declined for every application that they submitted. That is the power of properly positioning your credit profile and why I will always make it my first priority when securing credit. All right, number 2, company name. How your company is named means so much more than you would think. I have literally seen people with an 800 plus credit score get low approvals because their LLC's name suggested they were high risk. You see, when you apply for credit, the application is ran through the bank's approval algorithm, and the job is to determine how qualified an applicant is. I've actually seen a lot of times when an underwriter, so a real person, reviews your application, they will still run all of your information through the approval algorithm just because it's a lot easier and it can really make the decision on whether your company is high risk or low risk. So one of the qualifications it is going to look at is your company name, and it will use that info to decide whether it thinks your LLC is high risk or low risk. And just to give you some really quick examples of some very low risk names and some high risk names, a low risk name would be like Elite Consulting, Elite Digital Marketing, Elite Global Ventures, just something that is very, very broad. It doesn't really suggest anything specific. Now, on the flip side, some bad examples would be like Elite Crypto Consulting, Elite Financial Investments, Elite Global Properties, anything that involves crypto or could maybe suggest that you're collecting people's money and investing it, or something that suggests that you may be holding on to a bunch of real estate. I have noticed that those almost always get put into the high risk bucket. So I recommend keeping your company name very, very simple, like the green here. Now, I've seen many people get declined or get super small approvals when their company name has anything risky sounding in it. But every time we keep it simple and broad, I've never seen an issue securing those really high limit 0% approvals. Now, thirdly, revenue on applications. When it comes to getting approved for 0% credit cards without providing proof of income, obviously credit score is going to be first, but also second to that is what you put on the application as your revenue. And it really is crucial. So putting the wrong revenue and application or revenue and income on applications could trigger a financial review and result in a super small approval. So if you put too high of revenue, you could end up in a financial review because they want you to prove all the revenue that you stated. On the flip side, if you put that your business is barely making any money, they're not going to want to give you a high limit, a big approval, just because it doesn't seem like your business is making enough money to justify, a 50 to 75K card. So it's really all about knowing what the bank's algorithm wants and hitting that sweet spot for a big approval. But here is the great thing. The revenue that we are putting on the applications is just a prediction of what we think our businesses will make, meaning your business doesn't currently have to be making what you state on the application to get approved. Now, here's a great example of this. I got my first $230,000 in 0% credit before my business ever made $1. I hadn't made one single dollar and I got 230K. And the entire 403K that I currently have in business credit, I was able to secure without ever providing proof of income. Not one time have I provided a tax return, a financial document, an income statement. I've never provided anything to secure all the credit that I have. So that's super cool. And the reason the banks can approve a low or no revenue business for high 0% credit limits is based on just your predicted revenue, is because the person applying has a great credit score. So if we're making $0 in our business or little money per year, which is perfectly fine, for them to be able to take your word for it that, we plan on doing 750K this year. The reason they will take your word for it on the predicted revenue and still approve you for that credit card is based off your personal credit score. If you don't have a strong personal credit score, they're just not going to take your advice. I commonly call the credit profile the trust profile, because it really is what they base everything off of for these approvals. Even if you're making $0 and you say that you put on the application that you predict you'll make $750,000 this year, they're going to take your word for that because you have a strong personal credit score. So with all that being said, let's hop into the first bank. And the first bank is American Express. With American Express, it is best to have a personal credit card with them before applying for a business credit card. This is important for two reasons. Number one, people with a personal credit card tend to get approved for higher business credit limits. I have seen from funding multiple businesses with American Express that if they have a personal credit card with them prior to applying for a business credit card, I commonly see 15 to 25K approvals per business card. Without a personal credit card with them, I see 5 to 15K approvals per business card. And it's really more 5 to 10K, but I have been seeing more commonly 15K approval. So it really helps with American Express to have a personal credit card with them beforehand and then apply for business credit. Number two is if you already have an account with them, they will only do a soft pull when you apply for new credit with them. For instance, let's say that I 3 months ago applied for a personal credit card with American Express, and now 90 days later, I'm going to apply for business credit. They will pull my credit when I apply for the personal credit card, but now that I'm applying for business credit, they are not going to do another hard inquiry on my credit report. They're going to do what's called a soft pull, which is where they take a look at your credit report, but they don't put a new inquiry on it. So that's super cool with American Express. You basically give them one inquiry once, and then for future accounts or credit with them, they are not going to pull your credit again. So that's super cool. Other things to note with American Express is you can apply online. So most banks, if you want to get a super high 0% approval, you're going to need to apply through what's called a relationship manager. And they're usually the key to getting high approvals at banks. But with American Express, I have not seen that when you use relationship managers, the approvals are that much higher than just applying online. So it's super cool. You can just sit at home, get online, apply for these cards, and the approvals are about the same. The second thing is they pull Experian 99% of the time. So when they do put that hard inquiry on your credit report, or when they do the soft pull and are just looking back into it, they are going to look at Experian 99% of the time. Now, what I want to give you now is my exact game plan for applying for business credit at American Express. What I do personally and what I do for clients is card number 1, we apply for the American Express Blue Business Plus. If we are approved for that card, we then move on to the Blue Business Cash. Now, if we apply for the Plus and we are denied, I do not move forward. It is only if you are approved, I would move on to the Blue Business Cash. If you are approved for the cash, then I move on to either the Amex Business Gold or the Business Platinum. Typically, I will almost always go for the gold, and clients prefer to go for the gold. And the reason for that is it has a little bit better point structure for online business owners. So it gives you 4 points per dollar spent on food. And it also gives you 4 points per dollar spent on advertising. So if you're running YouTube ads, Facebook ads, and you're using this card, you're just building up a ton of points. So we normally for that third card go for the Business Gold. So by the end of applying with American Express, if done correctly, you should have anywhere between 20 to 50K in new 0% credit. The reason it's such a large range is because if you do not have a personal credit card with them, the results could be significantly lower than if you did have a personal credit card with them prior to applying. But the total count for us right now is our total 0% credit is somewhere between 20K to 50K. But one thing I want to note is this is my exact game plan at the time of this recording, but depending on when you see this, my game plan could have easily changed because it does frequently. The credit world is always evolving. New cards are popping up. New card offers are popping up. So at the time of this recording, this is exactly what I would do. But I just want to note that if you're seeing this, this video is 6 months old and you're seeing it, my game plan could have changed. So I just want to be real and honest with you that, this isn't going to be tried and true for the next 5 years, most likely. So the second bank on our list is Chase. Now, unlike American Express, with Chase, it is not necessary to have a personal credit card with them prior to applying for business credit cards. I have not seen a huge difference in business credit approvals when someone has a personal card with them versus they do not have a personal card with them. Now, does it hurt to have a personal card with them? Absolutely not. It's always going to be a good thing to have a relationship with a bank on the personal side before applying for business credit. But is it absolutely necessary? No, it's not. I have not noticed it being super necessary. So important things to note with Chase is in most cases, they will pull Experian and TransUnion. Now, this is not like American Express where 99% of the time they pull Experian. It's going to vary with Chase, but I have noticed that they always pull Experian in either TransUnion or Equifax. So it's either going to be Experian and TransUnion, or they will pull Experian and Equifax. I have seen that so many times. Like, that's not always going to be 100%. They could do a different variation, but it is normally Experian TransUnion or Experian Equifax. Now, the second thing is different from American Express as well, is you'll need to apply through a relationship manager for big 0% credit limits. If you just go online and apply for Chase cards, the limits are usually about 70 to 80%, sometimes 100% lower than if you were to apply through a relationship manager. And to give you some exact examples on numbers, I usually see when people just apply online, they'll either get a 10 to 20K approval per card. Whereas when you apply through a relationship manager, I routinely see 50K to 75K approvals per card. If you're going for 2, it's normally going to be about a 50K approval per card, but still, that's the difference between 20 and 40K and 100K. So it's certainly a big difference when you apply through an RM. So I would recommend applying through a relationship manager. And if you're unfamiliar with what a relationship manager is, they're essentially just a person at the bank that works with business owners and helps them get approved for credit products. That could be bank accounts, loans, credit cards. They're just kind of the middleman that work for you and with you to help you get approved for these products. Now, the third thing with Chase, for maximum funding, you'll want to set up a business checking account and put money in the account before applying. Now, with American Express, you do not need to have a business checking. You don't need to put money in it before applying. With Chase, to get those big approvals, it is best practice to set up a business checking and drop cash in the account before applying. So now I want to go over my exact game plan when I'm applying for business credit at Chase. So number one is I set up a business checking. Number two, I will put money in the business account. And after that money in the business account has settled and it's no longer pending, I will then contact the relationship manager and I will have them send me the application. Now, as of now, this is the exact cards I would apply for. So once the relationship manager sends me the application, I would apply for the Chase Business or Inc. Business Unlimited. I always go for, I don't think it really matters. You can go for the cash first or the unlimited, but this is just personally what I do. I like to go for the unlimited first. Now, the same thing with American Express. You want to wait for the approval. Now, the difference is American Express, since you're applying online, you're going to get an approval or denial immediately. When you apply through a business relationship manager, it usually is going to take somewhere between 5 to 7 business days to hear back on the approval or denial. But the good thing is when the approval comes through with Chase, the limits are significantly higher. So it's worth the 5 to 7 business days. But I apply for the Business Unlimited, wait. If approved, I then move on to the Business Cash. So after Chase, if done correctly, you should have anywhere between $75K to $100K in new 0% credit. That's going to bring our total from these two banks at somewhere between $95K and $150K. Now, next bank, US Bank. US Bank is similar to Chase, where I personally have found it's simply not necessary to have a personal card with them to get approved for 0% business credit. And funny enough, to date, none of the clients that I have funded and gotten business credit for at US Bank have had a personal card with US Bank. So to tell you, or that just shows you, it's really, really not necessary to have a personal card with them either. Once again, does it hurt? No, but it's not necessary. US Bank is actually very, very similar to Chase because what you're going to do is set up a business checking and put money in the account before applying. Second, you'll need to apply through a relationship manager if you're trying to get those higher 0% credit limits. Now, it's very, very important with US Bank to apply through a relationship manager and not do it online, because I have seen very commonly like 3K to 5K approvals when done online. When you do it through a relationship manager, you'll get usually above 20 to 30K total. So it's a pretty big jump when you use a relationship manager. Thirdly, they pull TransUnion 99% of the time. With US Bank, I almost can guarantee you they're going to pull TransUnion. So that's the credit bureau for them. So now here's my exact game plan for applying for business credit at US Bank. Number one, you're going to set up a business checking. Number two, you're going to put money in the business account. So here's a little pro tip for you. Since we're applying for US Bank after Chase in this scenario, what I would do is just take the money that you put into your Chase business account, send it over to US Bank, and then now you don't have to drum up more cash to put in the US Bank account as well. You can just use the same money you had in the Chase account in the US Bank account. So you're going to put money in the business account. And then this is where it is a little bit different from Chase. Instead of having the relationship manager send you the application, you're actually going to hop on the phone with the relationship manager and you're going to apply directly while you're on the phone. And this is exactly what I do. Once you're on the phone with the relationship manager, you're going to apply for the US Bank Triple Cash. And then you're also going to apply for the US Bank Business Platinum. And the goal is to apply for these at the same exact time. So you're not going to apply for one, wait for the approval, and then apply for the other. You're going to apply for both of these at the same time. I have found that when you apply for both these cards, right there on the phone at the same time, you have a higher chance of getting approved for both of them. When you get approved for one, so like I've tried this before where you get approved for one US bank card and then you come back later to get the second one, and they're not always willing to give you that new approval because they're like, well, we just gave you this last one. You haven't really spent money on it yet. Like, why do you need a new one? So I recommend applying for both of these at the same time. So after US Bank, once again, key here, if done correctly, you should have anywhere between 25K to 50K in new 0% credit. I very commonly see when you do this strategy and you apply for both at the same time, you end up at somewhere between 30 to 40K. But I also have seen plenty of people and I've had people get 50K on one single card with them. So I'm going to put the range at 25K to 50K. But 3 banks, and our final 0% credit total is now at anywhere between 120K to 200K. That is a pretty big range, but when you do things in proper order, you're just going to get higher approvals on each card. So, but even worst case scenario, I almost always, when done exactly in this process that I just explained, I very commonly see people land at that 120 to 200K mark. Very, very commonly. So final notes. Once again, I want to say this is my exact game plan for these 3 banks at the time of this recording. Depending on when you see this, the game plan for these 3 banks could have easily changed, like I said, as it does very frequently. But as of now, this is exactly what I would do to get to that 120K to 200K super, super fast. And the next note I want to explain or emphasize is the road doesn't have to end at this 120K to 200K and 0% credit. Like if that's fine with you, that's all you wanted, awesome. But I only shared 3 banks. I promise you that there's at least 3 to 5 more banks in your state that would be happy to give you more business credit.